You're listening to Problem Posing, an immersive podcast in the format of a class taking a look at education in New York State. What you hear in our class is what we imagine that a real class can sound like, focused on the big questions. And while some parts of the class are sometimes fictional, representing real organizations and real class progress, the issues at hand are as real and as problematic as ever. Also moving into more of a reaction style format for season 2. Thank you for joining me again. I'm your host, Christina. Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome to season 2 of Problem Posing. It is the end of September. I just dropped my camera, so that's always great. It is the end of September, the last day of September, and I hope everyone is having a great start to the school year. I'm trying something new. I'm trying a reaction style video because there's been a lot of things happening recently related to education in New York City, New York State, that I think I'd want to share in a class and talk about and really talk about more in depth with fellow educators, with students. But sometimes there's not a lot of time during the school day to do that. So really excited for this. I'm outside in a coffee shop. This is not the studio. I'm at a coffee shop. And I want to talk about the new New York City Reads initiative. Then I'd like to talk a little bit about implications of the initiative for secondary educators and what we can do to help students who might be still struggling with reading and foundational reading skills at the high school level. And I think about this a lot. I think about this a lot as a literacy coordinator. I'm at a new school. I'm a literacy coordinator at the school, overseeing literacy work for ninth graders, mostly ninth graders. And so I hope that this video is shared far and wide, and I hope that there's information that you might take away that you find helpful. I hope you can hear me with this audio setup, and let's get started.
And to have a chancellor who just gets it. He just gets it. And watching him every day get up in the morning with this energy of being on a mission and focus and taking this bold step and doing something that was important, reaching out to the partners, speaking to some of you are here today, say, this is what I'm thinking about doing in this forthcoming.
To give context, this is the press conference for an initiative that the DOE in New York City decided to put together called New York City Reads. Maybe I'll be able to put like an image of the press release or the website for it, news about it. This happened in May, and the initiative is something that is going to help students in early education, elementary school students primarily, learn about reading or learn how to read using evidence-based instruction, using the science of reading. I don't have to tell you, if you've listened to Soul Story, if you've listened to that podcast, there's a lot going on around the country around reading instruction, making sure that students are learning how to read in a way that is aligned. And so the New York City Reads initiative is supposed to be guiding folks, educators, towards more evidence-based instructional practices, because our reading levels in the state and in the country, the literacy rates are quite low. And so this is a very important initiative for the city, for the state, for the country, for the world.
You guys and ladies, you've been waiting for this moment for a long time. And is it going to be perfect?
When we say, or when we say, you know, when Mayor Adams here says we've been waiting for this moment for a long time, people in the audience at the press conference, he's talking about so many organizers, so many leaders, collective, so many amazing organizers, activists, the Dyslexia Alliance for Black Children, so many people who have been steadfast on this, pushing, so many organizations, so many individuals. I think of the Literacy Academy Collective primarily, pushing to see this day arise, because often in this space of the science of reading and evidence-based reading instruction, we see that students who have access to private schools that center reading instruction and use science of reading, use evidence-based practices. You know, we're talking about Orton Gillingham, we're talking about preventing academic failure. We're seeing that those schools are often private schools. You know, I think of the Windward Institute, which is a fantastic top level education for students who go there, seeing transformative changes. But unfortunately, we haven't seen these opportunities in public schools broadly. And so many people in the audience waiting for this moment.
No, but then we're going to try. We're going to try. That's what we're going to do. We're going to try. We're going to leave everything we have. And then the next generation will improve. The next administration will improve. And then we'll keep improving. You know, there are things that we're doing in this administration that we did not start.
I think it's really interesting that Mayor Adams says this too, because I think there's something to how education can be so political, even if a mayor who is elected and their chancellor, the chancellor that the mayor appoints, even if they have a great plan for education, for literacy, so often we see that the minute that somebody else is elected, even if the plan is in motion, it is shut down. And a new mayor and a new chancellor have new ideas for what education should be. It's very political. Unfortunately, that leaves students and schools with not enough stability fiscally in terms of legislation to actually get work done and see progress over time. And so I really appreciate that the mayor here says, you know, we're going to try. We're going to try. We're going to try. And you know, we really hope and we want the next administration, the next generation to pick this up, because for far too long, this has been an issue predominantly in Black and Brown communities, predominantly in low-income communities in the city. There are direct correlations, and it has to stop.
With those words, I said that word, even though you see as TH, sounds like a D. So I replaced the TH with the D on top, and I wrote it on so he could read it. And then I said, put it together, and that's what he did. At, and he said that. So that's how I started. But I say, okay, so if that's the way to do it, then I'm gonna continue doing that. So I kept following it, and until today, I'm still following that rules. There's other things that I do with him as well, because, you know, every time I'm doing something in the kitchen, somewhere else in the area, I said, bring me the book and start reading. So even though it's the same books, we still doing it. This is for the kids as well. Evaluation is key for the parents. No matter who tells you, follow up on it, because it's very important. And that's what I did. I follow up on the teachers, I follow up on the doctors, and that's why I proceed.
That is so important. I think I think, I always imagined what it would be like if we just got everybody in New York City education, from teachers to students to parents, guardians, in a group chat. That might be a little bit chaotic, but what would it look like to just remove all barriers to communication, in terms of like ideas and perspectives, and like to accelerate best practices both in the school and at home, because there's no time. It's past time. Like we must move faster. So really, really powerful.
Words, I said that this is for the kids as well. No matter who tells you, follow up on it because it's very important. I proceed and learning from it and continue being special. Don't let nothing put you down. Look at it as homework. And I want to thank everybody else, and that's my final speech. Thank
Here as well. We want you to be able to see the screen. Let's give Alana and her son Anthony another round of applause, everybody.
I really think Chancellor Banks is the person for the job when it comes to this work, his leadership and dedication to this. And I always love, this is for another episode, like the criticality, like the work school balance thing. But I just, that idea of wondering why we go to school in the first place, wondering why students go to school in the first place, why? Many students not feeling engaged, wondering why they're there. And then on top of that, egregious reading rates and literacy rates across the country that, some might consider civil rights violations, fundamentally, because it's just, what are we doing to ensure that every student knows how to read? And even teachers that are passionate, even teachers that are really interested in this, struggle to know what to do and find help. And before you know it, we're on to the next initiatives. Interesting to see how this happens academically and also politically, and how those things align.
We made the city's first ever investment to support the largest, most comprehensive approach to supporting students with dyslexia by screening all students at dyslexia and providing specialized instruction through the development of special programs and academies. Deputy Chancellor Quintana, where are you? Want to please shout you out, acknowledge you. Thank you so much. But we leaned into that because we are working for a mayor who made sure that before we ever got here, that these were the issues that were really important to him as he's traveled around the city, even before he became mayor. And he framed the focus and then asked me to lead this agency to help to deliver on this promise to New Yorkers. We launched Project Open Arms to invest additional resources in our schools that are serving students in temporary housing, particularly those who are arriving as asylum-seeking families. Melissa, where are you, Melissa Ramos? Please stand up. Thank you so much for leading that work for us. Across the city. there's one thing that I have learned more than anything else, and that is that too many of our children do not know how to read. You just take a look at that. In New York City, more than half of our students are not on grade level. 51% of our elementary school students not reading proficiently. And if you just think about that, it's a travesty and really an indictment on the work that we do. And when we dive deeper into this data, you'll see that it's even more profound for kids of color. So think about this, 30% of Asian students in New York City not proficient in reading. 33% of white students not proficient in reading. Now watch the jump. 63% of Latino students and 64% of Black students. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. So it's interesting, I think about when I was in grade school, the first book that I ever read, cover to cover, Dennis, was Sounder. Now, how many of you remember the movie Sounder? Remember where?
It's just really, it's clear to see by the data that there is a connection between race and proficiency in reading, and it's really, really, it's critical to do this work. It's critical to do this work.
First book that I ever read, cover to cover. I was in the 3rd grade, and this book had about 100 pages. So it was no lightweight book, and I remember to this day how that made me feel, even as I was getting closer to the end, that I was going to complete my first real book. But the reason I was able to do that was because I had a great level of confidence in my ability to read, because I was taught how to read. And that is part of the reason why when I became a teacher, I was so struck by the fact that so many of my kids couldn't read. So I taught elementary school at PS 167, not far from here, right on the corner of Eastern Parkway and Schenectady, District 17. And I love teaching. And it was just a great experience for me. But I started out teaching 5th grade. And I couldn't believe that I had so many students showing up at the 5th grade who were reading like at 2nd grade level. So you get together with all the other 5th grade teachers and you grapple with what is the problem that so many of these kids are showing up and they can't read. And so all of the 5th grade teachers who had been there for years, I was a first-year teacher. So guess who they blame? They blame the 4th grade teachers. So let me go have a conversation with the 4th grade teachers. And the 4th grade teachers blame the 3rd grade teachers for not being ready for the 4th grade. And it works its way all the way down. The 3rd grade teachers blamed the 2nd grade teachers. The 2nd grade teachers blame. The 1st grade teachers blame the kindergarten teachers. And of course, who did the kindergarten teachers blame? Not my fault, they didn't know their colors and numbers. And so we've been part of this blame game, if you will, for a while, where we just pass the buck and we don't accept a level of responsibility for ensuring at the earliest ages that all of our kids can read. And it's not just in New York City. So just take a look at some of these numbers around the country. In San Francisco, in Denver, 61, San Francisco, 45% of the students not reading on grade level. Denver, look at that, 61%. This is not just a New York City problem, everybody. Philadelphia, 66%. Omaha, Omaha, 73%. I've been meeting with superintendents all across the country. Everybody is grappling with this. Chicago. I mean, 80% of the kids in Chicago not reading on grade level. Right here in our own state of New York, in Rochester. 81% of the students in Rochester not on grade level. And so this is a national problem.
It's, you know, there are so many people. I mean, the documentary, The Right to Read, so important. Another important documentary at this time. People are realizing this is a modern civil rights struggle. Like there's so many things going on. There's so many factors, so many elements to consider, and it's happening across the country. This concern and these proficiency levels.
I remember my dad as I was growing up, and you know, I got older and talking to him about some of these issues. There was a time in New York City everybody learned to read. You may not have had all the great opportunities in life, but you learned how to read. And we've gotten away from that. I want to acknowledge and thank my dad for even joining me here today. Dad, thanks for being here. My father, Philip Banks Jr. So look at that, Detroit. In Detroit, 91% of the kids not reading. You can get those results even if you didn't send kids to school. You know, they say the SAT, you get X number of points just by signing your name. So what it says to me is that there are major, fundamentally flawed approaches that we're taking. But let me tell you what it means for our nation when we don't get this right. It has tremendous implications for all that we do across the nation. 1.2 million students dropping out each year. Students drop out when they give up on themselves. They give up on themselves when they've not learned to be successful in school. And they're not successful in school when we label them a failure from the very earliest ages. But they don't just disappear. Right? We spend as a nation $2.2 trillion in lost national income when we don't produce young people that can graduate from high school and they begin to start a part of their lives and taking their rightful place in this 21st century economy with a college degree or without a college degree. But at the very least, we ought to be able to graduate them successfully from our high schools, and we've not been doing that. This is what the mayor talks about on an ongoing basis. 70% of incarcerated adults read below a fourth grade level. Just simply think that these skills would produce $240 billion potential for our economy. When young people that we see hanging out on the streets, we don't graduate them, they are drained economically. But when we help them to realize all their true potential, they become a boost to the economy. So, you know, you pay me now or pay me later. But we're going to pay somewhere along the line.
That pay me now, pay me later is so real. That pay me now, pay me later. We're seeing that. We're seeing that. I think pay me now, pay me later is so real because if we don't invest in students, in their reading, in their literacy skills now, we see down the line that there are issues of crime, issues of houselessness, issues of, struggles, mental health struggles, violence in communities. We society pays for this. And most of all, the individuals who were not given that instruction. So many factors, but primarily that. Also, I think something that's really tough to me as someone really interested in economic equity, in taxing the rich, in making sure that we have funding to really invest in this work. The mayor and the chancellor have a fantastic vision for literacy in New York City, and a model that I really, really am watching very, very closely. But at the same time, the mayor has made fiscal decisions and has kind of, centered his politics in ways that have prioritized the wealthy instead of the many, which leaves economic conditions that don't lead us to pay teachers more and fund schools more. Instead, we get robots that are police officers that are robots and things like that might not be the best way. So I feel like it's such a contradiction, because the mayor can be so great on education, but then kind of undermines the work simultaneously. I don't know the answer. I don't.
We must give children the basic foundational skills of reading, teach them to sound out words, teach them to decode complex letter combinations, and build them into confident readers who look at a book, a long paragraph of complex words, and they're not intimidated because they know they have the level of confidence to be able to attack, and gives our students the foundational skills they need to become confident readers. Our primary goal is to ensure that every child will be on grade level no later than the 3rd grade. So how are we gonna do it? We're gonna roll out a 2-year rollout on this. The first part involves, first of all, early childhood education, which I want to make it very clear now. Oftentimes, we don't talk a lot about the importance of early childhood education in reading. A lot of times we talk about it as though it starts at kindergarten. It starts from birth. But the work that we do in the early childhood space will be critical to this. We're going to ensure not only that we have our kids in the right seats, but that we have access to high quality curriculum designed to help the earliest and our youngest children, our babies, begin that process of learning how to read so that they are even ready by the time they show up for kindergarten. And I want to thank our Deputy Chancellor, Dr. Ahmed. Please, Dr. Ahmed, thank you so much for your leadership on this. Quality, quality, quality. She said that to me from the time that I met her, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to continue that high quality curricula all the way through. We have 32 school districts in New York City. 29 of them in the early childhood space are going to be ready as we roll this out now, and we're going to be ready for this opening of this school year. In the K-5, 15 of the districts will be rolling this out as we start in September.
So that's beginning this year. This is what should be happening now. Phase 1 districts are listed. You can see the Phase 1 districts listed there. There's a focus on early childhood education and K-5, and that's starting this school year. Please watch, and if you see your district listed, parents, students, anyone watching, that's what's supposed to be happening now, 2023, 2024.
Each district will select one of those 3. We're not leaving this to every principal and every district to just do whatever they want to do. I'm a principal who believes very much as a principal in autonomy and allowing principals to make the best choices to the things that happen closest to their schools, but not on this. This is so foundational. And listen, I'm telling you, there are a lot of ways to demonstrate a level of autonomy. The one thing we cannot play around with any longer is ensuring that that foundation is in place. Because I can't turn to a middle school or high school principal and hold them accountable for results. And we sent them young people who still can't read on grade level. It's not fair. So the mayor has made it very clear. He says it to me all of the time. We let the schools do anything they want if it worked. But for far too many, it hasn't worked. So if it hasn't worked, we have to move very, very differently. And that's what we're getting ready to do. But the magic will happen as a district selects the curriculum that they're going to use, and we marry that with that job-embedded, ongoing, deep level of professional development. Not the drive-by professional development. Real, hardcore professional development. It's the marriage of the two that's going to make the difference. And you can see the districts that are rolling out as part of phase 1. Building a solid foundation of reading. It's going to be the cornerstone of this comprehensive literacy strategy that begins at birth.
Phase 2, 2024, 2025. I'm a high school teacher. Notice how, I'm not there's no discussion about high school yet, but I think Chancellor Banks, if I remember correctly, does mention high school briefly, and that's on the way. But it's true, this work has to happen foundationally at the elementary school level, and people need to be aware of it so that they're holding the DOE accountable to these goals. And so please take a look at this information to see the information about phase 2. And I'll be talking in a few moments about ways that secondary educators and parents of students in high schools, middle schools and high schools might support students who are struggling with reading.
In birth to 5. The last thing I want to tell you on this is that this implementation, we're going to continue to listen. We're working with all of our principals. We're working with the CSA, our principals union, and all of our principals around the city. You're going to help us understand, and our teachers, what's working, what's not. It's like Michael said, if we're off course or we see some gaps, we're going to work really hard to get it right. And we're going to do the things that we need to do to ensure that we're doing this the right way. Now, here's where all of you come in. This is what we call our call to action. It's the village. It is not just the teachers and the educators in our schools that are going to be able to deliver on this promise. But I want to say this to all of our kids. Your inability to read has not been your fault. And I want you to know that. And I want to say this to our teachers and our educators across the city and across the nation. It is not your fault either. You've been given a flawed playbook. And I want our families to know. Those who sit and they struggle watching their child struggle to read, not knowing what to do, assuming that the school knows best, and wondering, is it my child? Is there something wrong with my child? There's nothing wrong with your child. It's not your fault either. I want you to know that. So here's the call to action. Our city agencies, we need to work together to ensure that our families have access to resources across the city. That means partnering with our libraries, and I'm so happy to see the heads of our libraries who are here. Please stand up, please. Dennis, Tony, you guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Partnering with our libraries and partnering with the Department of Youth and Child Development and our commissioners here today to make sure that we're looking for ways to weave reading in to all that we do. Ensuring all of our superintendents and all the superintendents who are here today, please stand up. These are the leaders for our system across the city. Thank you. We're putting this work in your hands. We gotta get it right. No pressure. Actually, there's a lot of pressure. Hey. And you need to know that. The mayor faces pressure every single day. I'm facing pressure every single day. You're facing pressure every single day. We're gonna get this right. So, a message, here it is, to our colleges and universities, particularly to our schools of education. We must ensure that you are preparing our incoming teachers to know how to do this. I know, Jeff, the great work that you have done, and you have been an example for so many of us in this work. And it means a great deal to me personally that you've taken time to join us and that you sign on to be very supportive to us in this work. But when we think about what Frederick Douglass said, once you learn to read, you will be forever free. We owe that to every single one of our kids. Thank you so much, everybody. Let's get busy.
Really historic, really historic. You know, maybe that's coming from me as a bit of a policy nerd, literacy nerd, but this is historic because we have someone who is leading the nation's largest school district, outlining the issue, outlining what possibilities are out there for this, and I just think it's really, really inspiring. I think there are so many things that are happening and ongoing, and I'm going to send this to as many people as possible because phase one is happening now. So again, if you're at an elementary school, if you're a student, if you are a parent who has a student or a guardian who has a student at the elementary level, check that list of districts to find out if your school is implementing what this press conference said it should. And that's, again, structured literacy, evidence-based instruction. Ask questions about that. And then before I go, I just wanted to add a couple of things that can be done for secondary educators who have questions about this, ways that they can support students at middle and high school levels who might be struggling with reading. The first thing, and I got this from an article from American Educator from the American Federation of Teachers, AFT. It came out in the mail for teachers and people part of the union, AFT union, but it's also online. I'll try to link it. We can check, as parents and guardians can check to see how much time is being spent on critical reading instruction elements. And again, when we talk about the critical elements, we're talking about phonics, fluency, vocabulary, comprehension, and spelling instruction. This might look very different. This will look very different at the high school level, at the middle school level. But parents and guardians, ask your teachers how much time each week is being spent on those elements. Again, phonics instruction, phonemic awareness instruction, what it means to word level work at the secondary level is extremely there's more work that needs to be done in that space, because when we get to the high school level, when we get to the middle school level, there are feelings of embarrassment or shame or boredom that might come from that word level work. But there are a lot of ways that can be engaging for students. And I'm going to try to link some resources on different programs and different ways that you can do that. But, asking the teacher, how much of time in classes, are there intervention periods in ELA classes, or any time given to those elements if you feel like your student is struggling? Or if you are a student, you are struggling, ask somebody. And listen closely to their response. Provide time, extra time each day for practice and feedback, encouraging teachers to find times in the day where students can read out loud. Mini lessons if possible at the secondary level, small group instruction if possible. I know personally, as a literacy coordinator, I'm doing work that is in classes that are not in place of ELA, but in addition to ELA. See if that's a possibility at your school. Small group instruction, mini lessons to review what's going on in class. Tailored instruction to meet your child's needs, screens, assessments. Ask, have there been any screeners done? Have there been any assessments done? I think of the WIST, I think of the TOESWRF, I think of the San Diego Quick Assessment. There are a lot of assessments out there that I've seen, even in my short time. Second year teacher, disclaimer, even in my short time, I've seen that there are a lot of screeners and assessments that people say are the really top notch, and they're ones that can pretty quickly give you a sense of where your students' reading skills are. So ask about those screeners. Ask about how the screeners and the data is driving instruction. Small groups, reading instruction in small groups if possible, pairs, one-on-one if possible. Again, challenging at the high school level sometimes, but ask about that. Creating opportunities for students to read their wide range of texts, not only graphic novels, digital texts, but also, we want to try to move away from all those systems where people get students levels and they just read at that level. So students taking the opportunity, if you feel like you're struggling, to advocate for reading different types of texts. You don't have to just read one type of text because you have been told that that's your level. You can read, different types of text and benefit from pushing yourself to grow in your reading skills, even if teachers have told you over the years that, oh, your level is this. That's a bit arbitrary. Digital text, informational text, and stories. Explicit instruction that provides clear feedback. And this is something that, again, I'm really trying to understand better myself and grow in. But when we say explicit instruction, you're going to hear it a lot in the science of reading world, the structured literacy world, saying what students are supposed to do, stating clearly and in as few words as possible what they need students to know, the teacher, modeling what they expect students to do, asking children to demonstrate, and then providing prompt feedback on what the student did. That's super clear and can help them know exactly how to improve, controlling the difficulty so students can experience success, maintaining high levels of success, engagement, response. In addition, there's a book by Dr. Anita Archer, Explicit Instruction. I haven't read it personally, but it has more information about explicit instruction and what that looks like. Additionally, there's a book by Anita Archer. And still trying to figure that out myself. It's important to keep things fast-paced and explicitly tell the student what they need to know, model it, give them time to respond, feedback. I'm already going over an hour before editing, but it's not that people who believe in this explicit instruction, structured literacy, they don't think that it's not important to think critically and dream and think of ideas and possibilities and but you have to have the foundations down before you can do all of that. So I think that's been one of the biggest tensions in the reading wars and something that needs to be discussed more fully as we try to have these open conversations about what's going on and what can be done. And then finally, the fact that there are some programs out there that teachers are given the opportunity to try or buy from the DOE, from the vendor. Rewards, Phonics for Reading. Phonics for Reading and Rewards are two programs that are research-based and are supposed to provide the sequential, systematic introduction to word level skills, sound level skills that students need if they're struggling with reading at the word level. And you can ask, if you're a parent or guardian, or if you're a student or someone in education, you can ask the school if they've heard of Rewards or Phonics for Reading. There are a lot of other programs, but those are the ones that, at least from what I see, Starry, it's a third one. Those are the ones that, at least from what I see, teachers and all educators at the second year level might have access to. So ask about that. Again, I'm a second year teacher. I've got a lot to learn. I still have some coffee, but I'm super excited about this. If you learned anything that you found interesting in this video, if you want to learn more about what's going on in the city and follow along for more of these virtual classes, please be sure to like and subscribe, share. Thank you so much for being here, and looking forward to recording again next month. Take care, everybody, and thank you.